Welcome to The Lost Tube. Let's start. It began like any other routine day in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, on June 12, 2025, with the sun bright, traffic humming, and the skies calm. A day that gave no hint of the horror that was about to unfold. Air India flight AI-171, a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, scheduled to fly from Ahmedabad to London Heathrow, taxied smoothly down the runway at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. On board were 231 passengers and 11 crew members, each with a different story. Some were students going to study abroad, a few families returning to their UK homes after vacation, and several NRIs visiting for weddings. The mood on board was light. Luggage safely stowed, seatbelts fastened, cabin crew smiling. But just 33 seconds after takeoff, the plane's fate spiraled into chaos. As it began its ascent, eyewitnesses from the ground say the plane's nose dipped sharply instead of climbing. Then came a loud, gut-wrenching crash as the Dreamliner slammed into the BJ Medical College Hostel building, barely a kilometer from the runway. Fire erupted immediately, thick black smoke billowed, and the scene transformed into a battlefield. Students from the hostel were trapped under rubble. Patients nearby screamed in panic, and firefighters scrambled into action as chaos and screams engulfed the area. Within minutes, emergency sirens wailed across the city. The fire brigade, NDRF, and police forces rushed to the scene. Shockingly, this wasn't a remote area. It was densely populated. Over 30 lives were lost on the ground. Bodies charred, identities blurred. Many were medical students and local staff. And as for the passengers on board, only one person survived. 32-year-old British Indian Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who by some miracle was thrown from the back of the plane as it broke apart mid-crash and landed on a soft patch of debris. Crawling out with burns and bruises, he became both a beacon of hope and the sole surviving witness to what unfolded inside the aircraft in its final moments. Authorities moved fast. A high-level committee was immediately announced by the Indian government, led by Union Home Secretary Govind Mohan. Boeing and GE Aerospace, the makers of the aircraft and its engines, were asked to assist. The US NTSB and the UK's aviation safety agencies also joined the investigation. What emerged from initial black box data was disturbing. The flight had failed to retract its landing gear after takeoff, which may have disrupted airflow and lift. Coupled with a suspected thrust imbalance in the engines, possibly due to poor maintenance or a software glitch, the aircraft couldn't gain altitude and instead dove straight into the hostel building. And yes, people began asking questions. How could one of the safest aircraft in the world, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, just fall from the sky within 33 seconds? Was it pilot error, mechanical fault, sabotage? A week before the crash, the same aircraft had reported engine vibration warnings, but it had been cleared for flight. Some staff even raised concerns about overworked maintenance teams and skipped technical checks. And tragically, it wasn't just a normal crash. Among those on board were notable people, including a retired air marshal and a former Gujarat chief minister, Vijay Rupani, whose presence added a political dimension to the tragedy. The story sent shockwaves through India and abroad. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the site, calling it a national disaster and promising a full probe. Airlines across India grounded several 787 aircraft for emergency checks, and passengers nationwide began to second-guess flying again. On social media, debates raged. Some accused Air India of prioritizing profits over safety since Tata's privatization. Others defended the airline, calling the crash a black swan event. Memes, tributes, rumors, and conspiracy theories flooded the internet. Some joked morbidly, at least they didn't charge extra for the early landing. But behind the dark humor was genuine fear. For aviation lovers and frequent flyers, it was a painful reminder that no matter how advanced the aircraft, no flight is ever 100% safe. Boeing, already reeling from earlier controversies over the 737 MAX, was again under scrutiny. The US-based manufacturer expressed condolences and promised cooperation. Families of the victims, especially those from the UK and Gulf countries, demanded answers, accountability, and justice. International media picked up the story with titles like The Dreamliner Nightmare and India's 33-second aviation tragedy. Memorials were held across cities, candles lit for the young students lost, and emotional last WhatsApp messages from passengers circulated online, breaking hearts. One message read, "See you soon, bro. Plane just took off. Heartminess." Sent just seconds before impact. The investigation is ongoing, but what's clear is that this crash wasn't a random act of fate. It was a chain reaction of missed warnings, possible technical oversight, and perhaps a rush to maintain on-time status over caution. It exposed the fragile underbelly of India's rapidly growing aviation sector. Air India, the pride carrier of the nation, was forced to confront its past, its systems, and its future. And as we remember the 271 people who lost their lives that afternoon, the lesson is loud and clear. Aviation safety isn't just about new jets and good pilots. It's about a culture of care, checks, and never cutting corners. Until the final report is released, the haunting image of a Dreamliner engulfed in flames beside a broken Hostel wall will remain etched in our collective memory, not just as an accident, but as a wake-up call from 33 seconds of silence, fire, and fallout. Thank you for watching this. Don't forget to subscribe for more information story.